Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer. This episode is brought to you by eforms.com. eforms.com. Now, the nice thing about eforms.com, if you need a lease, you need a business agreement, you need power of attorney, you need any kind of form you're looking for, go to eforms.com and they have you fixed up. Kind of matches with our legal theme, right? Anyway, today we are reacting to Steve Bannon. Now, Steve Bannon is charged by the federal government with 2 counts of contempt. Now, when you get a subpoena, let's say you get a subpoena just from your local county courthouse, and the prosecutor subpoenas you to court, or even the defense subpoenas you to court, and you don't show up for court. Well, that subpoena is a court order. It's an order. And in this case, the subpoena is a congressional order. And it's an enforceable order. And how do you enforce an order? Well, you enforce it by jailing the person until they comply, or, in this case, charging them with criminal contempt. And he has a right to a jury trial. But Steve Bannon is charged with 2 counts. Why is he charged with 2 counts? 1, he failed to show up for his testimony. And number 2, he failed to produce the documents that they were looking for. Now, this is the January 6th committee that is investigating this. They started selecting a jury, I think, on Monday. They selected a jury very quickly. In the federal system, the judge does most of the questions. Voir dire is the process of selecting a jury, but it's really jury deselection. You really kick people off the jury that you can't think are fair. And in this case, it's kind of funny because Bannon is very well known in conservative circles, but overall, people kind of don't know who he is. And that's one of the things that they found out in jury selection. People don't know who he is. So you get 12 jurors and usually 1 alternate. So the government yesterday did their opening statement. And it was pretty cut and dry. And they had I think the prosecutor is a female who's pregnant, which you don't really want to try a case and go hard at somebody who's pregnant because they seem sympathetic. But this is a fairly simple and straightforward case. And what do I always say? Stop self-snitching. You don't want to get on camera. You don't want to talk, whatever. But this is really political grandstanding by Steve Bannon. I mean, that's really what he does. He's all about, boisterous, stop the steal. This is, it was rigged. Joe Biden's not a legitimate president, And we'll get into that a little bit. But let's kind of react. He was out at the courthouse yesterday, and the government's rested their case today. And we'll go into a little bit more about what the government had to prove, but let's see what his little rant is all about. These are kind of funny, actually.
Thompson today to have the courage to come to this courthouse. If he's going to charge somebody with a crime, he's going to be man enough to show up here or send somebody like Shifty Shift.
See, he's attacking Congress. Now, Congress didn't charge him with a crime. The Department of Justice did. Totally different bodies, totally different branches of government.
Or Fang Swalwell. Or send Liz Cheney, send somebody on the committee that has the guts to come here and accuse somebody of a crime.
So, Steve Bannon is just ranting outside the courthouse. Now, here's the thing. I don't care whether you're a Trump supporter or whether you're a Biden supporter or whether you're an independent and hate them both. When you have somebody that's attacking our system, right, it's got to be met with a critical eye in a sense. The judge in this case said, number 1, you can't subpoena members of Congress because none of what the issue is so narrow in this case. None of what they have to say would be relevant to whether or not you responded to a subpoena. That's the only issue in the case. So there's very few witnesses. That's why the government rested today. They also wanted to raise the issue of privilege, and Donald Trump never asserted the privilege, the executive privilege, and it wouldn't have applied to him anyway for 2 reasons. 1, he didn't work in the White House, And number two, he was a political advisor. He wasn't a cabinet level position. And number two, guess what? The executive privilege, rests with the sitting president. So nobody ever asserted it. So he couldn't use that as a defense. And now here's the thing. Do you think it's really smart for him to, if you're all about the podcast and you're all about the Alex Jones type hyperbole in the world, where you get, you just go off on a tangent like I do sometimes. Well, then what he's doing is more branding, But guess what? Anything he says here can certainly be held against him when it comes time for his sentencing, because he will be convicted, unless jury nullification. So let's finish this up here.
It is outrageous. And for them to sit there and try to get a complete hearing, and they won't bring in any testimony about FBI involvement, any testimony about DHS involvement, any testimony about any other involvement.
How is any of that relevant to whether or not you responded to a subpoena? It isn't.
And what's driving this? The total and complete illegitimacy of Joe Biden. Trump won. Joe Biden.
So who do you think that statement's for? You think that's for the judge? No. You think that's for his brand? Yes. You think that's for Donald Trump? Sure. Because Donald Trump's sitting on a mountain of cash.
Illegitimate. 50% of the American people believe that.
So 50% of the American people, I don't know that number is accurate, but how many times did they get into court? 61 or 62 times, and they were shot down in almost every single one of those. So, but that's not even the issue. I mean, the legitimacy or illegitimacy of the presidency or whatever, Congress issued a subpoena. They have the power to do it. You might not like it because they're Democrats, but too fucking bad. They have the power to do it. And you get that subpoena and you don't show up, you are subject to contempt citations. And when you get charged with contempt, it's really a very, very simple case to prove. You either did or did not comply. And he was trying to make some kind of argument that, the dates are fungible, that we were negotiating the dates. Well, and then all of a sudden, last minute, just before trial, he agrees to go before the committee. He can't have it both ways. And in this case, the judge didn't even allow that for a defense. So the case, remember what I was telling you, the case is very simple. The Justice Department rested their case after only calling two witnesses. They called Kristen Emmerling from the House Select Committee and FBI agent Stephen Hart. So Stephen Hart is probably I would guess the FBI agent is the one who served the subpoena on. So you have. Did he get served? Yeah, he got served. Did he show up? No. Did he produce the documents? No. It's almost that quick. And I don't know what the cross-examination was. They don't have cameras in the courtroom. But tomorrow, if he's going to testify, he would testify tomorrow. And here's the thing. Bannon may start going off. Let's just, I saw a little role play on this morning on CNN, where Bannon, let's just say I'm Bannon and I start going off. Well, this is an illegitimate, blah, 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 blah. Objection, Your Honor. Mr. Bannon, please answer the question that's put before you. Next question, please. Mr. Bannon, did you get served with a subpoena? This is not a legitimate body. It is not a legitimate subpoena. Mr. Bannon, I'm going to tell you. Objection. Mr. Bannon, I'm going to tell you one more time. And so, Mr. Bannon, isn't it true that you were served a subpoena and you didn't show up? And then he goes off on his tangent again. Guess what? The judge will clear the courtroom. Okay, Mr. Bannon, I warned you. I am now finding you in contempt. And you're in direct criminal contempt of my order. So, and if it happens right in front of a judge, the judge can order another contempt citation and summarily convict him of contempt right before the federal court, right before the federal bench. And what he's looking at, and the 2 counts are misdemeanors. So they carry with them a year-long sentence each with a 30-day mandatory minimum. And in federal court, generally speaking, they don't really do a whole lot of concurrent sentences. So if he gets convicted of both, it's likely he will do at least 60 days. But my guess is that with all the ranting and raving outside the courthouse, that he's going to get much more than 60 days. So just keep an eye on this. And this is for our friends in Oregon, because they're political animals. So you know who you are, Emily. And this is for all of our other fans. I know I'm going to get some backlash, like, oh, you're just a Trump hater and blah blah blah. And I'm not a Trump hater. I'm fairly middle of the road. I think that but it doesn't really matter, because this is actually kind of a cool, fun legal issue when you think about it, because it's the federal government. It's got politics involved, and I think he's going to be singing a different tune when he's sitting in jail for a while. And I wouldn't be surprised if the judge took him into custody right then and there, because once he's convicted, he no longer has the presumption of innocence. And when you don't have the presumption of innocence, you have a different standard in terms of your release conditions. But it is kind of a political environment, and one could argue he could be disrespectful right outside the courthouse. I don't know if the judge is going to take him into custody or not. On much more serious cases, they almost certainly get taken into custody if they were released prior to that. So my guess is that this judge has probably had it with and this is a Trump-appointed judge, and so this Trump-appointed judge has probably had it a little bit with Bannon. I bet he's going to be a little impatient with him, and it all depends upon what he does with the rest of the case. Some judges issue what they call a trial tax. You put the government to their burden, and you especially on a case where you're not going to win, they whack you for going to trials. Other judges don't do that, but there's quite a few that do, and I don't know what this judge would do. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see tomorrow whether he testifies. I bet $100 that he testifies. And now the reason I say that is because he wants a headline. He wants a headline that says Bannon testifies, blah, 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 blah. Or what's more, he wants the headline that judge shuts down Bannon's testimony. That's what it doesn't matter. Either way, he's going to win, he thinks, the battle of public opinion. And that's where he's fighting this. He's not really fighting this in the courtroom so much. So this has been our reaction to Steve Bannon on trial for contempt. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. My name is Bruce Rivers. I am a board-certified criminal defense lawyer. I love what I do. There's nothing better than sitting next to your client. 1 minute they're looking at 10, 15, 25 years, or even life, and the next minute the government has no hold on them, and they walk out and they sleep in their own bed that night. So that's what I do. I love what I do. So you follow us. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe. Stop the self-snitching. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God?